Quiet on set, and action.
Howdy y'all, welcome to another episode of Gear Garage where we talk about all things whitewater. My name's Dustin, and today I'm going to introduce you to some rescue concepts, land-based and boat-based anchors, and how you might attach a rope between the two. Mostly for gear and boat recovery or boat rescue. When we're choosing a land-based anchor, we want to make sure we're picking like big friendly rocks or big friendly trees, something that's going to be able to hold lots of tension. You want to hit these things, kick them, make sure they're not hollow, make sure this tree is not going to fall down. A good rule of thumb that I use is 5 and alive. If the tree is 5 inches in diameter and still alive, is probably a pretty good anchor. We don't want to be building our anchors too high on these trees, as it could cause leverage and pull the tree down. So we want to be working in a fairly low area. And there's 4 anchors that I want to introduce you to that all involve the water knot. If you are unfamiliar with the water knot, please check out one of our earlier episodes on knots, or go to animatedknots.com. It's a great website. We'll teach you how to tie all of these knots. The first anchor that I want to teach you is just a simple loop anchor, and it involves all these anchors involve webbing. So we're going to take our 20-foot piece of webbing here out of our safety kit or our wrap kit or our pin kit. Maybe this is something that you keep on you, and we're just simply going to go once right around our anchor point here, and then in the end we're going to go ahead and tie our water knot. It's a simple overhand knot with a follow through, and I'll continue following it through. The biggest thing that we want to make sure with our water knot is that we have adequate tail so that it doesn't slip through. And a good rule of thumb here is that if you have tail wider than your fist, that's adequate. You can see here that I have plenty of tail, and this creates our very simple loop anchor. This is great for really large diameter trees or really large diameter rocks. It's fairly simple, and it is dynamic if the environment you're working in becomes dynamic. And the one downside to this is that if it's not under tension, it can fall to the ground, lowering your workspace. Great. I'm gonna go ahead and untie this. The next anchor I want to introduce you to is called the basket hitch, and this is really simple. Again, we're going to take our 20 feet of webbing here and tie in our water knot. Some of you may keep this webbing already tied on you. Sometimes I will, and my PFD is like a flip line. It has many uses. Cool. So now we have a big loop of webbing with our water knot, adequate tails, and our basket hitch is simply just going to go right around the tree here. We want to make sure that anytime we're connecting into this anchor that we're not connecting directly onto the knot. This is a great anchor as we've just increased our strength by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 versus our regular loop anchor. Great things about this, again, it's dynamic, it's simple, it may already be set up. But again, if it's not under tension, lowers our working area. Great. The next anchor that we'll work on is what's called a girth hitch, and it's very simple. Again, taking our already tied loop of webbing, coming around our anchor point, and passing it through the loop. Make sure that this is nicely dressed and clean. The biggest thing with this anchor is that we do not want what we call this pulley effect, where the webbing passing through the loop is pulling on the bite in the loop. So we want to make sure that that's placed appropriately around the tree and in line with whatever it is with the raft that we're connecting to. We also never want to connect directly onto our knot, as that decreases the efficiency of the system. Great. The final anchor that I want to talk about is kind of what we'd consider a gold standard in anchor building. However, we may not always have time or enough webbing to tie this, and it's called the Wrap 3 Pull 2. First thing you're gonna do is wanna find the center of your long piece of webbing here. There we go, there's the center. We're gonna come to the back side of the anchor, and we're just gonna go ahead and wrap this right around the tree 3 times. 2 and 3, right there. Cool, so now we have 3 wraps. We're gonna come to the end, again, tie our water knot, overhand, enough tail, and follow through. Great, you can see I've tied it with enough tail there. And we're gonna take these 2 points against the tree, and we're gonna go ahead and just give them a nice tug, bringing that knot right to the center here. This is an amazing anchor as it is dynamic. Because of the friction around the tree, it'll maintain that space and not drop down, giving you adequate workspace. And it takes the knot out of the system due to the friction around the tree. What I'd like to do now is take you over to our raft we have set up over here and talk to you about some more boat-based anchors. All right, y'all, welcome to our perched raft or wrapped raft in the middle of the river. This is gonna be kind of a review on a 2-point or 3-point boat-based anchor. Zach has done one of these previously, however, I'm uncertain of whether or not he did an adequate job showing you. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you, continue to review this. What we're looking for when we're building anchors to our raft, and I like to be inside the raft when I'm practicing this because this is likely where I'm at when I'm stuck in the middle of the river, not standing in the middle of the current, but from inside the river. So when I'm practicing this, I practice from inside the boat. It's nice to have a raft with a bunch of D-rings so that we can create some sort of load distribution amongst these, and we're not just yanking on one single D-ring. If you're, rowing a gear boat or have a frame inside here, it's nice to be able to go from a D-ring to even a frame just to create a little bit more stronger connection. But I'm gonna go ahead and utilize these 2 to 3 D-rings here to show you what I'm talking about. Again, we have our 20-foot piece of webbing. Maybe this is on you, maybe this is in your pin kit, your wrap kit, your safety kit, whatever you call it. And it's obviously untied. And we're just gonna take one end and just go ahead and thread it through 2 D-rings. Pretty simple. Come back through, and again with our water knot, we're gonna tie a water knot in here. Doo-doo-doo. One end and the other coming through, making sure that we have that adequate tail. Follow through, and boom, once again, nicely dressed water knots connected to 2 D-rings. Now what we don't want to do is just send this out and tie it off to our static line that's being sent over to us. We're going to want to take this in the middle and grab it and bring up another bite. Cool, now we have this 2-point anchor here that we're going to clip into with our carabiner and then tie off with our static line or our throw bag or whatever is being rescued. Cool. Obviously this is 4 points of connection. We're going to clip into it here with our carabiner. What we want to do is give it this little magic twist in the middle on one of these strands of webbing so that we can go ahead and clip into that. The idea behind this is that if one of these D-rings blows, we don't lose the whole system. That if this D-ring goes out for some reason, because we've put too much tension on it, it's an old boat, whatever it is, that it'll still hold on to this carabiner in this system. Anytime we go to clip in, we want to make sure that we're using locking carabiners first off and that they're being locked. This specific carabiner here is a screw gate and currently is open, is unlocked and able to be opened. So we're just going to want to make sure that we screw it down. And I like to go through a little ditty in my head about clip it, flip it, screw it down so I don't screw up. We can back it off a skosh and then just give it a little squeeze test. And that's ready for our static line or our throw bag or whatever we're using to pull this boat off of the stuck situation is ready to go.
Okay, so now I'm here at the land-based anchor. This is a nice big tree. Dustin built this beautiful wrap 3 pull system around the tree. And I have a rope going to the boat. And I could just like pull hard. And it's super smart when a boat gets stuck. Pull hard this way, pull hard that way, pull a lot of different directions. Once you find a way that gives a little bit, I like to attach the rope to the anchor. This is the beginning of a Z-rig if that's where you're going, but you don't have to. There's a lot of other cool things you can do before you go Z-rig. And these are tools I like to have with me. I like to carry these things together. Like whenever you need a pulley, you typically also need a carabiner and a prusik. So I kind of put these together, whether it's in my safety kit or my life jacket. I grab these and I'm gonna pull the carabiner off, throw it around the anchor so I have something to attach things to. And I personally really like going right to a pulley. Partially because I like pulleys, they're cool, they make me feel like I'm a big deal. And so, you know, I just like hardware. So I'm gonna use this pulley and put it on there. And the beautiful thing about having a pulley attached to a fixed anchor, this isn't adding any mechanical advantage. I'm still a simple system, but I can pull from different directions. So instead of pulling this way, I can choose to pull this way. It's just changing the direction of my pull. If there's an alligator pit over there, I don't have to pull into the alligator pit. I can choose to pull into the poison oak instead if I want to. So it's really nice to have this change of direction. And one thing I've personally found really useful in handling like stuck boats is creating some sort of progress capture. And a progress capture is pretty easy to set up. You just put your prusik on here and you gotta learn how to tie a prusik knot. And hopefully I do this right. I'm gonna embarrass myself here on Gear Garage again. I did it wrong. I'll try it again. This always takes me a second, especially if I'm like maybe a little bit nervous. And you know, whenever you're in some sort of like rap situation with people watching you and like Dustin's there mocking me right now, like it makes me a little nervous. And so it's good practice to do this when you're nervous. So I put my prusik, is this a knot or a hitch?
Hitch.
Prusik hitch on here. I always get those confused. And make it look beautiful. You got to dress your knots, and then they work better and they come off easier later. And if you attach this prusik onto here, this does something super cool. And I can pull this and then move the prusik out. And so this is capturing my progress. And the reason I really like this is because when you're pulling on a raft, you're like, pull, pull, pull. Okay, you gotta take a break. And here you can go, hey guys, pull, pull, pull. You can get a little bit of progress. Let me do it this way. Pull, 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 move the prusik out, take a break. Pull, 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 move the prusik, take a break. And you can just keep inching it down the way. I really like this. Again, this is just a nice way to like pull on the boat a little bit. And the nice thing about this setup is once you have this and this hasn't really worked for you, you're almost there like, man guys, if we had 3 times the power, this would come off. Then you just throw a pulley down there, come back to you, and you have your 3-to-1. So this is like, to me, step 1 before you really pull on the firepower. So that's the whole system. We went from like land-based anchors to boat-based anchors to attaching it to, and all the way down to progress capture. If you have questions, thoughts, you want to complain about Dustin's setup, please add comments in the comment section below. You know, Dustin needs a little bit of ribbon once in a while. But if you have anything to add, if you have different ideas, a lot of you maybe might say, don't do this system because whatever. Like, let me know. This is a good conversation, and I can learn more from these discussions too. So that's it. Thanks for joining us. Okay, I finished the episode and forgot one really important thing that I want to talk about, and that's the vector pull. And I haven't personally used it a lot, but I believe in it. And so the beautiful thing about this system is you can get your static line pretty tight, and then you can just on the rope somewhere attach another prusik and then pull midway. And this isn't a whole episode about vector pull, so I'm not going to go into it in depth. But the beautiful thing again about setting this up this way is you can just do progress capture. You have the beginning of a 3-to-1, and you also have a nice tight line, so if you want to do a vector pull, you're ready to go. So that's really the end of the episode, and thanks for joining me.